How you guys doing? My name is Kraze, and I'm going to be showing you how to mix skin tones. This is the photo we're going to be working on. It's a cartoon portrait. We're going to be using portrait colors by Blix artist. They're acrylic paints. You're going to need a mixing knife and a container to mix your paint in. These are both pretty cheap. The container's about $3-4 at Michael's, and the knife was about $2. I'm gonna just use 3 simple colors: yellow oxide, light portrait pink, and burnt sienna. We're gonna be pretty much starting off with just a base mid-tone color, and then later we can add some tints and shades to adjust to the lighting and shading of the portrait. So we start off with our container. Majority of the paint is gonna be the light portrait pink. You want to kind of match the values of the photo and the skin tone. Just a little bit of oxide yellow. You see some of the underlinings, just like a little yellow, but it's mostly pink. And that, to add a little deeper color, I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna. These paints you can find at Blix for this portrait pack. It's not too bad, about $24.99. It's not bad for the amount of paint that it does come with. It lasts for some time. So these are the 3 colors you're starting with. You just want to give it a good stir. Just make sure it's thoroughly stirred. Kind of just want to like press it against the walls of the container. Just mix it around real good so when you apply the paint, it's all even tones without any streaks. So you don't want one portion of the photo to be one tone, other portions may be a little darker, lighter. So just make sure it's like fully mixed. And after you get a good consistency in one tone, you just want to kind of compare it to the photo. Sometimes you may have to add a little bit more pink in this case. The color was a little too deep. Just want to lighten it up a little bit. Just stir that up a little bit. Also, the colors that you might see after you stir may not match necessarily to the photo you are comparing to. So sometimes you want to apply some to scrap paper. It's usually when the paint does dry, it could be a little darker in tone. But when you become a little bit more familiar with it, you can kind of tell just by looking at it. Just wanted to make sure, so get a scrap paper. Then we compare the tone, it's pretty close. Just want to clean up your knife a little bit. Sorry, just looking for a piece of paper here. Alright. So you can just take any white piece of paper, just apply it. Kind of see more or less how it looks once it's down in paper. Again, it'll dry just a tad bit darker than when you first apply it. That looks pretty close, so we're gonna leave it there. So again, this is gonna be the mid-tone. As you can see in the photo, there's some darker shades, some lighter tints, but the middle tone is the one we want to start with, which will be your base color. So you grab the canvas. This is actually the canvas I already started. As you can see, I started with the quick outline, a little bit of purple added to the lips. Get your paintbrush. I'm just trying to find a good paintbrush. It's going to be doing this portion. It's like the middle area. It's the middle tone, which is our base tone. You want to try not to add too much to your paintbrush, but just enough so you can add an even coat going all around. Okay, so now that we've got all the mid-tones in, we're gonna mix for the next tone. So we're gonna grab our palette and just take a little bit of the base color. The mixing knife, we'll just apply a little bit to the palette. I'm gonna go back to our portrait colors pack. I'm gonna start off with burnt umber. I'm gonna use just a little bit, like a tad, tiny bit of this, because this is a really dark color and it can be overpowering. And it'll also make the value of the shade turn a little grayish. So we want to just use like a little bit. Just mix that really well. And then we'll grab the burnt sienna, and this is what we're gonna really use to darken the shading. Again, you still don't want to use too much when you're using dark colors, because they can be overpowering. So just use a small amount. Find it easier when you apply it to the mixing knife and then to your paint versus directly to the mixture itself. Sometimes the paint doesn't come out of the tube properly. I don't know, it gets weird. It's really thick paint. Okay, after you mix that really well, you want to get your paintbrush. You can use the same paintbrush. You can kind of just rinse it off or have a paper towel at hand. That's what I do. Just kind of wipe off the excess paint, because you're still using the same tones in reality. It's just darker or lighter, but you don't want it to affect the new color you are working with. So just try to rinse off your paintbrush if you can and dry with a paper towel. If not, just thoroughly just wipe it off with a paper towel. That's fine. And just try to keep your container tightly closed while you're using the palette or other colors, because you don't want your color to dry out, because then you can't use it for the rest of the portrait. Then you have to start all over. So we're just gonna get the next tone in, which is just a tad bit darker than the first. Just a little bit of shadows. Shouldn't be a dramatic change from the first color, but fairly close. So pretty much that's it for the coloring portion of the cartoon portrait. Pretty much covered all the tints and shades, the skin tone. I initially added some of the purple when I did the initial outline. Usually after I finish coloring everything with the paint, it looks a little messy and I still have to go over the outline, some touch-ups. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you see I use Molotow acrylic markers for the outline. I will be posting more videos showing that. So pretty much after this part, just a few touch-ups and that's about it. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. Any suggestions of things I may have left out or failed to mention or maybe could have done better, I'm open to those as well. And be sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching.